I spent a lot of time asking myself, did I win? Right? Did I win? Did I get ahead? Did I win? And I think in my 30s, in working at SoulPancake, what I realized that the more important question to ask is, did it matter?
Hmm.
More than did I win? And once I realized that and made that shift and kind of centered meaning and purpose and kind of service in the work that I do, that really made the biggest difference and brought the most light actually to my own life because it was less about did I win and it was more about what was the impact that it was creating.
Welcome to Engage Presents. I'm Engage co-founder and president Jake Olson. In this interview series, I ask Engage talent the most common questions we hear from event planners to help you get to know them and their stories in 15 minutes or less. Thanks for listening. Welcome to another episode of Engage Presents. I'm Engage President Jake Olson. Alongside me today, Shabnam Mogharabi. Shabnam is a talent executive, best-selling author. Most importantly, though, she is a fellow Trojan. Shabnam, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Jake.
Okay, as I mentioned, you, along with me, went to SC, so I know I have my favorite memories there. What are some of yours? Where'd you stay freshman year? Kind of tell us about your USC experience.
Sure thing. I stayed on campus in a shared dorm, and very quickly realized I kind of wanted my own apartment. So my second semester of freshman year, I moved into Annenberg housing with three roommates right off campus, and stayed there for the next 3 years. So I fell in love with it and loved it. Studied journalism, and honestly, some of my best memories, I mean, some of my best memories are the most tragic, like getting my bike stolen and 1 a.m. taco runs and all the stuff that comes with college and living on your own for the first time and not knowing what you're doing. So it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
They still do have that Taco Bell right there at campus. It's a
Yeah,
dangerous place to put that thing. I'll tell you that much.
it is.
Um,
And honestly, I ate a lot of bean and cheese burritos at 1 a.m. while I was studying. So
I knew. There you go. Okay, so you have this thing called SoulPancake, and for someone who's never heard about that, can you explain what it is and what helped make it so successful?
yeah. So my background is in journalism and media, and I've always been kind of a storyteller. And then through a crazy chance series of events, I co-founded a company called Soul Pancake with actor Rainn Wilson. And the mission of Soul Pancake was to inspire and uplift people, to make us realize that we had more in common that divides us, and to tell stories and create content that would connect humanity and bring a little light to the darkness of the internet. The internet at the time, it still is, but it was a pretty dark place. And we wanted to just bring a little light to it. And it was really funny because when we went out and were pitching this idea of starting this company to tell stories that would uplift and connect people, almost everyone at the time, 15 years ago, was like, that sounds amazing. Never going to succeed. The we want Kardashians and we want family drama. Like nobody wants uplifting, feel good content about humanity. And so we just decided to start posting on the internet, and lo and behold, people did want it. And I think because we were a little bit counterculture to what was out there at the time, 15 years ago, there wasn't an Upworthy, there wasn't, nice news, there wasn't a lot of these kind of feel good and uplifting sources on the internet, and we were one of the first. And so I think that's what made us successful is we were able to break through because people wanted to feel good about humanity, and we wanted to feel like we had more in common than what separated us. And it became kind of this light on the internet, and we got to 1 billion video views because people really wanted to show up and engage in that content. And it was, I kind of sometimes say it was lightning in a bottle, but it was truly magic at the time to build what we were able to build and create the community we did that still has legs today. I mean, people still show Soul Pancake videos in classrooms and at universities, and I get emails to this day and messages and DMs saying, hey, we just watched a Soul Pancake video and it was really uplifting and moving, and it made me want to reach out to my dad or connect with my best friend from high school, and all these really beautiful moments of connection. And I think that's what made it powerful.
Isn't that special? That speaks volumes to what you created. So, as you mentioned, uplifting, bringing light, bringing joy. What's something you've learned that's done that for you in your life? Brought you that light or that joy?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time, I think, chasing success, and I spent a lot of time asking myself, did I win? Right? Did I win? Did I get ahead? Did I win? And I think in my 30s, in working at Soul Pancake, what I realized that the more important question to ask is, did it matter?
Hmm.
more than did I win. And once I realized that and made that shift and kind of centered meaning and purpose and kind of service in the work that I do, that really made the biggest difference and brought the most light actually to my own life, because it was less about did I win and it was more about what was the impact that it was creating. And I've seen that effect even in my personal relationships, like less about, what are the friends I have and what are the relationships I have, and more about like really deepening the more meaningful ones in my life, and centering a common purpose and passion in those relationships. That's made the biggest difference and brought the most light to my own life. Is that shift away from success to meaning has been the most powerful one for me.
That's beautiful. So you went to Annenberg again. Your journalism major. You talked about SoulPancake, telling stories. So storytelling is a big part of who you are. How
Yes.
can businesses use storytelling as an advantage?
Yeah. So storytelling, it's an ancient art. We've told stories since humanity existed. And Steve Jobs actually once famously said that the most powerful person in the room is the storyteller. And the reason is because at the end of the day, storytelling is what drives emotion. And the reality is that what we feel is what we believe as human beings. It is more true than anything else. No amount of facts or data or figures will change what someone feels. And ultimately, what we feel is what we believe. And storytelling is the number one driver of our feelings and our emotions. So, if in the business world, whether we are CEOs trying to communicate a vision, whether we are marketers trying to get people to buy into what our product or service is selling, whether we are individuals applying for a job and trying to tell the narrative of our life experiences, storytelling is how we get people to believe what we want them to believe. It is the emotional fuel that drives decision making. And so, if as executives and as business leaders, we don't learn the art of storytelling, we don't learn how to communicate ideas in a way that effectively affects minds and hearts, then we're going to miss the boat on being able to get swaths of audiences to engage with our message.
Absolutely. No, that makes so much sense. And so, as we mentioned, you're a best-selling author. You have a book that's being released this year. How much storytelling goes into your writing?
So I write all sorts of things. So I write everything from, LinkedIn posts where I tell little short stories all the way through to the books that we've released. And the book that's coming out this fall, it releases November 4th. It's actually called the Soul Boom Workbook, Spiritual Tools for Modern Living. And you're probably thinking, spirituality, what does that have to do with anything? But a lot of the ancient spiritual wisdom that, we've learned for thousands of years, from whether that's Buddhist or Christian or whatever religious traditions there are, there's a lot of ancient spiritual wisdom that we've thrown out in our modern lives. And a lot of it has been reaffirmed by the tools of positive psychology, by modern sociological studies, by a lot of the interpersonal and relationship and therapeutic advice we've been given over time. A lot of it is rooted in spiritual wisdom that we don't even realize have those connected dots. And so this book is an attempt to harness some of that ancient wisdom and ancient practice in our modern lives. How do we counteract so many of the isms and pandemics that are facing us in the world, the mental health challenges we're dealing with some of these ancient tools and wisdom that are affirmed in the modern sciences of positive psychology and sociology. And so this book really tries to weave a narrative in that while also creating active journaling and exercising books that can get people engaging with these tools and lessons that have emerged through science and spirituality and psychology and wisdom over time. And so the book has a lot of personal narratives. There's a lot of essays and stories that I am telling from my own personal life, along with my co-author, Rainn Wilson, who's telling personal anecdotes from his personal life. So there's storytelling interwoven in it, but the idea is to really make it an active, interactive, practical, tool-based workbook for people.
Fascinating. That'll be a fascinating read. I love it. Are there any stories of Taco Bell in there? No, I'm kidding.
No stories about Taco Bell. There are a couple of stories from my early college years that are in there.
Good. No, I'm glad. I knew there would be. I knew. All right. Lastly, and this is kind of a real personal question for you, but at the end of your speeches, the things you talk about are very personal. What's something that someone shares with you afterwards that really lets you know, hey, what I'm doing is full of purpose, and what I'm doing is very important to this audience.
Yeah. So much of how I set up my talks is talking about what is failing in the world right now. And the things that I talk about aren't big socioeconomic issues or global political issues. What I talk about is, there's a lack of distrust in the world today. We don't trust each other anymore as human beings. I talk about the proliferation of doom and the lack of hopelessness, how everything is now a dystopian future. And, we look online, and if it's a fire or it's raging, then we pay attention. And it's really proliferated a hopelessness amongst people. And then I talk a lot about just the crisis of meaning that has existed in our lives. We don't get meaning anymore from friendships or work or faith traditions. We lack meaning in a lot of places in our lives. And then by the end of the talk, hopefully I've given people tools to kind of counteract these challenges that we're facing. And so what ends up happening is afterwards, so many people come up and want to share with me the experiences they've had dealing with distrust or lack of meaning, and how I've helped to shift a little bit of their perspective and made them feel that it's not out of their grasp, that, our attitudes are oftentimes one of the few things fully under our control, and that the tools that I talk about and the practices that we can harness more joy, more storytelling, more positive psychology, more of this ancient wisdom into our personal lives, our professional lives, that these are doable, right? They are things we can actually do, and they're within our control. And so many people come up to me afterwards, like, I had no idea how simple some of the solutions were to the challenges I'm facing in my life that I didn't even realize everyone else was facing too. And I think that universality is what really feels right to me. It feels like people walk up and I've spoken to their hearts, their minds, their souls. And that matters to me because, there's lots of people who have massive, massive platforms that are bigger than mine, a lot of people who reach a lot more people. But I am less concerned about that. And I'm more concerned that when I'm standing in front of a group of 100 people or 200 people or 1,000 people, that every single one of them sees something universal in what I talk about. And I feel like afterwards, when people come up to me and they're wanting to share their personal stories, that I've been able to do that. And that I think is what matters the most.
Absolutely, Shannon. Well, we can tell how authentic you are in that, and the importance of what you have to say is, and we're very happy and proud to be able to partner with you. If you do want to learn more about Shannon's story, or obviously book her to speak, please visit letsengage.com, and you can check out her profile there. With that, Shannon, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me. This was great.
Awesome. Stay tuned for more Engage Presents.